For centuries, the Church has fractured over the mechanics of the Trinity, oscillating between two historical errors: additive division and mask-switching collapse. Tritheism divides the divine essence through addition. Modalism collapses the Trinity into masks of a single entity. The Codex resolves this via the volumetric Trinity, a three-dimensional proof. God exists as three orthogonal dimensions: source, expression, and operation, multiplying to generate linear-divide volume. This volumetric multiplicative identity maintains absolute unity, setting the structural blueprint for every divine action in recorded history. Once the eternal structure is established, we can track how this geometry dictates the way God interacts with space and time. This table identifies the Father as the source. His mode of presence is strictly exterior and sustaining. He is the transcendent core holding creation together from the outside. The Son represents the endia thetos, the internal word of God's self-knowledge, moving outward into action and manifesting as a structured boundary. Notice the contrast in the Son's mode of operation. He is the interior participatory agent who physically bridges transcendence into reality, walking in gardens and wrestling with patriarchs. Because the Father's mode is strictly exterior, any physical, visible encounter with God in canonical history must be the Son. We often collapse the Father and Son into a single generic actor, assuming God is an interchangeable term throughout Old Testament narratives. This creates a paradox. John 1:18 states that no one has ever seen God, yet the Old Testament is filled with patriarchs who interact with God face to face. The TVC corrects this by identifying the Father as the invisible source, and the covenant name Yahweh Waheh as the specific identity of the actionable word, the Son. This connection is explicitly textual. The I am revealed to Moses in the burning bush shares the same Greek translation as the I am spoken by Jesus in the Gospel of John. When the covenant maker passes between the cut animals in Genesis 15, we are witnessing the pre-incarnate Logos establishing the promise he will eventually fulfill. When Moses views the back of God in Exodus 33, he is seeing the Son's deliberate self-limitation, enough visibility for Moses to survive, but not enough to consume him. Jacob wrestling with a man in Genesis 32 serves as proof of this participatory nature. While the Father cannot be approached, the Son is the visible image who can be wrestled. Yahweh is the specific, continuous historical identity of the Son, acting as the sole visible interface for humanity. We verify this consistency by examining the specific physical descriptors of God across prophetic visions. While in Babylon, Daniel sees a divine figure with eyes of fire, a face of lightning, and feet of burnished bronze. These details match exactly with John's vision of the Alpha and Omega in the Book of Revelation: eyes like fire, feet like bronze, and a face like the sun. This same description links back to the fourth figure in the furnace in Daniel 3, who appeared with the form of a son of the gods. These appearances trace the mathematically consistent, unbroken thread of the Son operating across human history. Moving from the nature of the Logos to the nature of humanity, we have to look at the biological reality of creation. In the Garden of Eden, death is an ontological category that does not exist. The environment is characterized entirely by the tree of life and unashamed nakedness. Modern biology explicitly defines the human epidermis as an outer layer consisting of 100% dead keratinized cells. This creates a structural paradox. If Adam and Eve possessed an epidermis in Eden, biological death was present in their bodies before the fall. The TVC deduction holds that pre-fall humanity was inherently light-bearing. Dead cellular layers could not have existed in a deathless state. This suggests the epidermis was not part of humanity's original design, forcing a reevaluation of the biological moment of the fall. The immediate biological consequence of the fall was the activation of this dying outer layer. In Genesis 3:21, God provides garments of skin using the Hebrew verb asah. This denotes manufacturing a function from an existing substrate, rather than a new creation. The text uses a dual construction, for Adam and for his wife, signifying an individualized biological covering rather than generic animal hides. While traditional views suggest an animal sacrifice, the TVC notes that God receives sacrifice, he does not perform it. Making God the first killer in Eden inverts the biblical structure. The sun is the covering. The tunic of skin represents mortality itself, the physiological epidermis that the eternal Logos must eventually confront. This biological reality links the fall directly to the New Testament incarnation. The eternal Logos willingly entered this tunic of skin, assuming mortal flesh to conquer it from the inside. The transfiguration of Christ on the mountain provides the ultimate canonical proof for this framework. Because God never changes, the transfiguration avoids being a mutation or a transformation into something new. The event serves as a diagnostic revealing, a moment where the veil of dead epidermis was temporarily pulled back. This revealed exactly what the Logos always was, and what humanity was originally designed to be. The veil was pulled back, not replaced. From the absolute math of volumetric multiplication to the physiological skin of the incarnate Christ, the biblical framework operates with structural necessity.